Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome back to 21 Jewels. And today I want to be showcasing and talking about another Invicta watch. Now, being this is some of the first videos on 21 Jewels, I might look familiar, and that's because I run Fat Cat Collections, and that's a channel that basically is a little bit of everything that I'm into, and every product that I get for as far as a sponsorship deal or things I purchased, I'm going to share on that channel. Whether it be a how-to, watches, smart home tech, you name it, it's always going to be on there. And there's always going to be watches on there. But I wanted to branch off and put up a channel specifically about wristwatches, because a lot of times some of those other off brands I get that aren't necessarily the Invictas, which is what mainly kind of drove the channel to where it's at now, and then the smart home tech kind of pushed it forward. I want to have something that guys who are looking for a watch, maybe they're not into an Invicta watch, maybe their tastes are different than mine. I want to be able to get 21 Jewels out there to be the #1 watch review channel on YouTube. Now, I'm not saying it to be the best YouTube channel on YouTube has to mean that I'm the smartest guy, that I know the most about watches, because that's not true. But one thing I can guarantee you is that I have the biggest passion on YouTube for wristwatches. I have over 142 in my collection, and that number keeps climbing, and I'm always working with different companies to get more product. So I think it's great. I want to just kind of be able to get 21 Jewels a little bit higher up in the YouTube search under just watch reviews. So that's kind of where we're at. So today I want to review another Invicta watch, and this is one of my most favorite Invicta watches in my collection. And those of you who are unfamiliar with Invicta, basically Invicta is a very, very old name in wristwatches. They go back all the way, I think, to the late 1800s. Again, I'm not a history buff when it comes to horology, but they're a very, very old company, much older than Rolex. Although the Invicta of today is nothing like the Invicta in the beginning or when they first started. The company's changed hands many times, and now they kind of found their niche, their niche, so to speak. They really focus on watches for everyone. They really don't have a real brand distinction. There's not one thing that really defines them. Some folks would think that they're like, okay, big, gaudy, over-the-top watches, like the one I'm going to show you today. But they make a lot of smaller watches too. They really make something for everyone. It's, in my opinion, the kind of company that is producing a watch that no matter who you are, man, woman, even child, you could find a watch from Invicta that you're most likely going to like. Now, I'm not saying that you may see a Bulova, or just to do a little quick wrist check, my Visser dive watch. You haven't checked this one out, I'll be doing another review on this one as well on this channel. Beautiful watch by the Visser boys. They are the owners of Vostal fishing reels, and so they've done a fishing reel, nautical kind of boating inspired or themed watch. Beautiful, amazing quality. Check that one out. So about this watch though, this may not be your cup of tea. It's a very, very large watch, but like I said, there is something for everyone. And I always tell guys, when you're looking for a watch, some folks will comment on the Fat Cat Collections channel, and hopefully one day on this channel, and I'm sure they will. It takes time to grow a channel. That Invicta makes something. Their watches are too big. I've heard bad things. And one thing I want to state about Invicta watches is that a lot of guys who are Invicta haters, or watch snobs, they always reference the Better Business Bureau and like Consumer Affairs or some kind of consumer complaint sites. And a lot of them have, okay, maybe about 200, close to 300 complaints. But if you look at the volume of watches that Invicta sells every year, they do over 50 million in sales every year. And if you do the average on that, say $200 to $300 for a watch, that's a lot of watches. So there's more people that are happy with the Invicta brand that are unhappy. One knucklehead the other day commented on Fat Cat Collections that he bought an Invicta watch at some store in the mall. He got it out of the store, and within a couple minutes he realized it was broken. The store wouldn't give him a refund. Then he's blaming Invicta for the crappy quality. I'm pushing a brand that's garbage. When really, yeah, he had a bad watch. I've heard the same for Rolex. I've heard the same from pretty much every brand out there. It's possible to have a bad egg. You have bad apple. It does happen with anything, a TV, any product out there. There's no product on earth that you can buy that will never have that's a perfect track record across the board. There just isn't. What I can do is give you guys my honest opinion of, and give you guys my experience with the brand. I have over 30 Invictas. I don't even know how many. Well over 30 Invictas in my collection. I have 142 watches in my collection, ranging in price from, you know, $100 all the way up to $4,000. And I can tell you that Invicta is really on par with all those brands, all those different watches, different price points, those micro brand watches, those Swiss-made watches, German watches. It really is on point with the quality. And of the 30 ones I've had them for, most of them for well over 5 years. I've had no issues. This particular one I've had for almost 3 years, or is it 3? We're going on 4 years right now, and no issues whatsoever. So let's talk about a little bit about this watch. This is the Sea Hunter 3. This is a name that I gave it from Fat Cat Collections because it technically is the third design of the Sea Hunter that Invicta came up with. You'll see it referred to as the Generation 2 on several different websites, but when you look for it, and even on eBay, but when you really look for this watch on eBay, and again, there's always going to be a link in the description where you can pick this up for the best price, whether that be through eBay listings. I'm always putting the most up-to-date pricing or the most up-to-date listing where you can pick up these watches if they're available. Sometimes Invicta makes these watches and they stop making them, then they come back. This one's going to be a harder one to get. Now, they do make it very similar watch, and the link will be in the description for all the different color combinations you get in the Sea Hunter 3. But the newer ones, the change that they've made on some of the newer ones, and I'm not sure if it's across the board, is you no longer have a screw-down crown and function pushers. And I know for you diehards out there who are like, you're probably saying, man, why'd they do that? And you know what, I agree with you. But what it has done is really brought the price of the watch down a little bit. I would say over $50 to $100 in some cases. And, you know, realistically, you don't really wear this diving. I mean, it is a dive-inspired watch, but I don't consider this a real dive tool. Although, I'm not saying you couldn't, but I'm not a diver, so I never have to worry about that. So for me, personally, losing I think it's about 300 feet of water resistance, it's not really a big concern. You still get, on this, I believe it's 600 feet of water resistance. Let me just double check on the back here. 300 meters of water resistance. You still get the flame fusion crystal, which is something that Invicta does. It's kind of like a hybrid between like a sapphire and like a Cristerna crystal. I've never scratched a crystal. I've whacked this thing on a concrete wall. I've never had any issues. Again, now if you work in a machine shop, I don't recommend wearing this. If you're diving on the bottom of the sea floor, I don't recommend wearing this with around a bunch of coral. You know, I mean, these are plated watches, and as far as the plating quality is concerned, I've never had any Invicta watch have any issues with the plating coming off. I mean, they're that great, they're that reliable. So, a little bit more about this watch. This one, I believe, off the top of my head, is powered by the Z60 chronograph movement by Ronda. Ronda's a movement company that makes Swiss-made quartz movements. I think they just started making a automatic movement as well. They're using that in some of the Invicta watches. I'm sure you'll see a lot more. And again, this one here is a true chronograph. And basically, for those of you who don't know what a chronograph is, basically it's a fancy stopwatch, or it's a mechanical stopwatch. I personally never really care if a watch is chronograph. It does give you a lot of different complications, a lot of different dials on the face. It does give you a lot more going on the face, but I would much rather just have an automatic movement with a date window. And that's one thing I like about Aragon. They pretty much do that in most of their watches. They keep it simple, whereas Invicta likes to make the chronographs in a lot of their watches and use those quartz Ronda movements, which are really great because you actually pull the crown to the number 2 position and you'll get a 70% savings on battery life. Don't worry about that affecting your dust getting in the watch. There are inner seals in there that's going to prevent that from happening. I don't recommend you keep the crown pulled on any watch and put it in the water, of course, because you do lose some of your water resistance. But there is water resistance on the watch, even with the crown and function pushers open, but don't submerge it. You know, it'll take a splash. I've never tested it, but I know for a fact that it does have water resistance. As far as the Sea Hunters, what they've done with the Sea Hunter 3 is they've added this bezel. This is a different bezel than the original Sea Hunter, which I will review the original one at a later date on this channel. I love the fact that they did this. This really made this watch a lot more popular. I mean, you see a lot more Sea Hunters now than you ever did, just adding that bezel. It's a gear edge bezel. It's big, it's tight, it's got, I believe it's 120 clicks. It's solid. I mean, nothing about this watch is small. This is the biggest watch that Invicta makes, so if you're looking for the bad boy alpha male watch, this is it right here. 23 millimeters in case thickness is the second thickest watch that Invicta makes. be behind the Hydromax, which is a lot of, you get about 4 or 5 millimeters in crystal because it sticks up. This one here, all meat, all meat and potatoes on this one here. I mean, absolutely thick. It's big, it's chunky, and of course you have 58 millimeters at the bezel, and with the crown and function pushers, this is a fold down or a fold over protection grid, I would call it, I guess, or crown protector, I should call it. With that, it's so large, it really brings it up to about 73 millimeters. It's a huge watch. It's not a watch for a guy who doesn't like a big watch, but if you like a Nixon watch or you like a diesel watch and you're new to Invicta, you haven't checked them out, this is something you're going to love. I mean, there's no Nixon watch or diesel watch in the world that can compare with this thing. I mean, this is such a huge watch. There's not a day that I don't wear a Sea Hunter 3 that people don't notice it and be like, wow, look at that watch. It's just an attention getter. It's a conversation starter. It's just an action stopper. People stop what they're doing and they got to ask you about it. Whether it's for them or not, it's just, it's like seeing a beautiful sports car on the road, being like, yeah, it's not for me, but you have to appreciate it. So a little bit more about the watch. The Sea Hunter 3s and the original Sea Hunters actually have this beautiful exhibition window on the back. I love they have that furnace blue propeller. As far as finishing on this watch, you have pretty much brushed 316L stainless steel with a 14 karat gold plating on the watch, and of course mirror polishing down the center. Your Invicta logo on the back and your Sea Hunter logo on the clasp, which is a shark basically. Hopefully you can see that by the video. And that's about it. Now, one other thing I want to note is that this is a big, heavy watch. And one of my subscribers on Fat Cat Collection says, I don't emphasize the weight of the watch. Guys, this thing is over a pound. It is the biggest, heaviest watch Invicta makes. If you're going to whine and cry about getting a little bit of calloused on your wrist, Invicta probably isn't the brand for you. I mean, you'll get the tattoo mark. You know, the gym, you go work out, although I haven't worked out for quite some time. But, you know, when I used to, my hands were full of calloused. That's what happens when you have metal rubbing against your skin. And you know what? I think it's kind of a cool callus to the fact that you're an Invicta lover. You know, and some of you may disagree with that, but I really don't care. I love the Invicta watches. I think they're big, they're bold, they're beautiful, and they're just, I mean, for the money, the value, the quality is, I'm telling you guys, I have watches by Aquadive. My Visser watch is just under $1,000. My Aquadive, $2,000. My Delta T, you're looking at $1,500. All beautiful watches, don't get me wrong, wonderful quality. My Alexander Valjoux 7750s, I have tons of Alexander watches. I mean, very expensive watches. This is on par. You can get this watch for like the $250. I've seen it as low as $250, all the way up to about $500, $600, depending on which model you get and when you buy it. The quality, guys, I'm telling you, it's side by side. It's amazing. I mean, Invicta is one of those companies that they give you a lot of bang for your buck, and quite frankly, I don't know how they turn a profit. I mean, and again, you have to be a smart shopper. Don't go buying this for $3,000 because you're going to get ripped off. That's not what it costs. MSRP on them, yeah. Invicta does a huge MSRP. It's kind of the game they play. I'm not sure why they do it. They really don't have to do it because people know what they cost, and you know, I wish I could talk to the owner and ask him, why do you do that? Because it really, it doesn't, people who know what you pay, naturally, if you pay $300, like my Sub-Aqua Noma 5 came with a retail MSRP on the sticker of $5,000, but I paid $350 for it. It's like, dude, come on, you know, why even put that on there? But nonetheless, be a smart shopper, know what the going rate is on these watches, and you'll never be disappointed if you pay, if you buy it for a fair price. So on this watch, $250 to, I'd say even $600, $700, depending on the model you want. $700 is kind of high. Really $599 right in there if it's a model that you really got your heart set on and it's not something that you're going to find. A lot of them are being produced, and that's kind of how Invicta works. You're going to see a lot of them just kind of come out to certain websites. When they sell out, then they become available on other websites and the price creeps up a little bit. So be a smart shopper. Always check my links. They'll always link you to the best deal from the reputable sellers. So without further ado, let me go ahead and throw it on the wrist. Now I am about 5'7.5". I have a 7-inch wrist. This is what it looks like on my 7-inch wrist. So I'm not a very tall guy. I'm not a big guy. So all these watches look massive on me. And on a 7-inch wrist, it's going to look huge. And it doesn't look huge in a bad way. I never have anybody tell me ever in all... Only behind the hidden doors of YouTube do people tell me that this looks ridiculous. And guys, it looks amazing. I mean, I can't tell you one-on-one compliments to people, they're always telling me, gosh, that's awesome, that thing is impressive. And it really is. And guys, I always say, these are big personality watches. If you're a guy who likes I don't see anything wrong if you like a Rolex or a very small dress watch, a Tudor, those kind of smaller, you know, everybody likes something different, and you like what you like, I like what I like. I appreciate all watches. I have watches like that. I always gravitate towards this. It's always been my personality, and it's a lot of people's personalities. It's a guy who puts wheels on his car to be flashy. It's a guy who dresses nice, wears the leather jacket, takes pride in getting his hair cut. You know, doesn't roll out of bed and just leave the house. You know what I mean? These are big, flashy watches, and you know, there's the hip hop industry. I mean, movie stars are flashy, and I'm definitely the kind of guy who appreciates things that kind of get noticed. I'm an attention getter. I like to wear stuff that, you know, is, like I said, big and bold and over the top. But ultimately, if nobody ever noticed, I wear it for myself. I love the brand. The quality is great, and they really do make an exceptional product. So one thing I want to close on before we hit the 16-minute mark, that's kind of my cutoff on my videos. I want you guys to tell me, if you're new to this channel, check out my other channel, Fat Cat Collections. I'm sure some of you will come over from there to join me on this new venture. Let me know what you think about the lighting situation. I'm kind of going around the house and trying different rooms and just kind of not necessarily reviewing all the time from the same position. Fat Cat Collection is always going to be at my desk. This one might take you kind of on a little bit of a journey around the house, and I want you guys to tell me what you guys think and tell me what you like better. All right, folks, have a great evening. Subscribe to the channel, and take care.